welcome back to the Bank On It podcast, episode number 6. Hello to all the good people out there, brought to you as always by Appalachian newspapers. To my left, Regional Sports Director Randy White, Corey Vance on the ones and twos back there. Coming off the state championship weekend, Corey and Randy were obviously down there covering the thing. What did you take away? Obviously disappointing outcome for the region, but some great games to watch.
Absolutely great. I mean, you look across the board, every championship game is close, but we'll start, with Pikeville and Beechwood. 21-20, Beechwood comes away with the win.
It's tough.
Comes down to the final moments. Pikeville's driving down by 1 point. They're within field goal range. Coach McNamee right after the game is saying maybe we should have ran a couple plays underneath, go for a field goal. But, you can't really fault him for going for it. Christian Builder, just 2 or 3 plays earlier, comes up with a 39-yard catch in double coverage on 4th and 14 with the game on the line. So, obviously, with the game on the line again, where else is Connor Roberts going to go to but to Christian Builder?
Yeah.
Pikeville has nothing to hold their heads about. They went down and represented their school well, themselves well, the whole community. Just had an excellent game. And, one play doesn't really say it all. They had chances. They were right there in it and very easily could have been walking away with the win instead of the 1 point loss.
Yeah.
Jackson Hensley gets hurt, into the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter. He doesn't get hurt. Maybe they come away with the win because then there's not a double team on Christian Builder because, that's that other guy. He had two touchdown receptions there. I think he had 4 catches on the day, 150-some yards.
Big game.
And Connor Roberts had a big game as well. The running game wasn't there for Pikeville. First half they struggled offensively. Second half they came out from the get-go and set a different tone and really had them on the ropes in the second half. They took that 20-14 lead there late and had a chance, but give Beechwood credit. They answered, got the winning score. They were driving again, could have put it away late. Pikeville's defense came up with a big fumble recovery that set up that final drive. That game was just down to the wire. Both sides played well. No losers in that game, really.
Yeah, and like I said, nothing for those guys to hang their head about. Everybody in the community super proud of the showing they put on down there. Very easily could have gone the other way, and Pikeville could have come home with the state championship this year. And just talking about the Franklin Simpson Johnson Central game, another disappointment kind of for the region, but the guys really put on a show, and another super close game. And just tough outcome.
Johnson Central's walking away with this one feeling that they should have won this game. And you can't say that they probably shouldn't have because, 2 touchdowns get called back on calls, on penalties. One's a block in the back, which, is questionable at the least. I don't think anybody saw that. And then, another call was the defensive player getting hit on the play. Another questionable call. You don't see it very often. So 2 plays like that, and it could have been. But give Johnson Central credit that here they come down 14-6. Final moments they get in there and they score, get it 14-12. What they lose by, go for 2, just can't find a way to punch it in. When they're going for 2, they run a toss sweep on the outside. It'd been successful all second half. Just couldn't punch it in. So Johnson Central put up a heck of a fight, but Franklin Simpson had a big game too. Just another tough, hard fought game. Again, nothing to be ashamed about if you're Johnson Central.
Yeah, we're super proud of these teams for the showing they put on down there. And you got to think both of these teams are probably going to be making trips down there in the next few years again. So they're going to have other opportunities to bring home a state championship. Both these teams, as far as going forward, you like their chances looking good?
Oh, yeah. They return. They obviously lose a lot of seniors. Joe Jackson coming off a 2,000-yard season. They lose him, of course. But, you return your quarterback, your number 2, your quarterback in Riley Priest. He's going to be a 4-year starter next year. Then Devin Johnson comes back. He's going to be a starting linebacker and running back next year. So, Devin Johnson's one of those kids who's just a big playmaker. So, Johnson Central's got, a ton of talent coming back. In Class 4I, they'll be set up in fine shape there. And, while we're also, talking about state championship stuff, Connor Roberts, we got to give him an extra little shout out. He was named one of the six finalists for Mr. Football this weekend.
Wow.
Was the Class A Player of the Year, so that sets him up to be in the finals. Wandale Robinson ends up winning that yesterday, named Mr. Football for that. So, just a great season for Connor Roberts. In tomorrow's News Express, we got a story on, another in-depth look at the state championship for Pikeville, and then we got something on Connor Roberts. So it gets all of his numbers and, pretty much tells what he's done in the last season and a half. To be a Mr. Football candidate for him is kind of cool because he's not played 4 years. He's not been a 4-year starter. He came in and got that starting job 5th game of the season last year, his junior year. So, he's got a handful of starts, and you look at his numbers, over 5,000 total yards, 70-some touchdowns in a year and a half. So, just impressive numbers from the kid.
Yeah, congratulations to Connor Roberts. That is super impressive, being recognized as one of the state's best players in that little of a time frame as a starter. That's kind of incredible.
Mm-hmm.
What do we want to move on to?
We can look at the rest of the state championship games. You look at Class 3A. You got Corbin and Central. Central wins 2019, another close game. What people are going to take away from that one is at the end of the game, there's a little melee between the two teams, and so it might overshadow a great game, but both teams fought hard. Again, it comes down to a play here or there. Central comes out in that Class 3A. They're always in the mix. Belfry fans around here knows how good of a program Central is, and they're always in the mix. So congrats to Central on winning that Class 3A state championship. And then you look at Class 2A, Christian Academy in Louisville comes away with a 34-28 win there over Mayfield. Mayfield's always in the mix in Class 2A or A or whatever class they're in. And Christian Academy just kind of outplayed them from the onset. Saturday was the first game of the day. A rainy day, it rained pretty much all day. And they still found a way to put up 34 points there in that one. Another impressive win. Probably the biggest victory of the whole thing was Mel's 37-20 win over Scott County, Mel 6A champion. So that was probably the biggest margin of victory for any team down there. So congrats on Mel to that big win. And then you look at Class 5A, another close game with South Warren coming up with a 20-16 win over Covington Catholic. A lot of people thought Covington Catholic, might have been the best team in the state regardless of class. And, South Warren comes away with a win.
Yeah, lots of close games down there. Like you said, man, it looked like it was a really good weekend of football down there. I'm sure everybody who made their way down to Lexington this weekend definitely enjoyed all these games. And, again, you got to see some really, really great football all weekend long. And, again, congrats to all the teams that were able to bring some hardware back to their communities. And those that weren't, we're still super proud of the Pikeville Panthers and Johnson Central for going down there and having such a good showing. And like you said, man, one bounce of the ball the other way, and that those two state championships end up coming back home to the mountains. So congrats to all of them and all the players that went out there and left it all on the field.
And one last thing, just speaking of the communities, both schools had a lot of people go down and root them on and support the kids. Two of the bigger crowds down there were Pikeville and Johnson Central. So, plenty of support from their communities, their schools. Just a great showing of people coming out and getting behind their teams, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah, congrats to all those. And, I was following everything on Facebook, and it looked like to me during the Pikeville game, it was a ton of people, ton of alumni, ton of parents, ton of current students obviously were down there. So great to see that the community really went out and supported the teams this weekend. You love to see that. All right, check out some of these clips. We've got some highlights from the Pikeville Beechwood game and Johnson Central Franklin Simpson. last night we got all of the college football playoff and all the bowl games announcements out. Obviously, the one that piques our interest the most is Kentucky, as we expected, playing in a New Year's Six bowl game against Penn State, which I've seen Penn State play a few times this year. They've kind of been up and down, got their doors blown off by Michigan, but sure James Franklin will have that team ready to go. It would be an interesting test for Kentucky in Orlando, so it should be a huge big blue crowd down there. How do you like the matchup?
It's a tough one. I mean, but to be on the level they want to be at, you got to start beating teams like Penn State. You got to start competing with those teams if you want to take that next step as a program. So, this is a good opportunity for Kentucky. If they look at it as an opportunity to say, hey, we belong here, there's no better way than seeing tradition-rich Penn State. And, you come up with a way to beat that team, you show everybody you belong, next couple of years, you'll be in the same position. And when it comes close to getting into another bowl, they might go even higher. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity for UK.
Well, I'm definitely interested in seeing how Terry Wilson responds, comes out and plays this game. Obviously, like we said, off the Louisville game coming out, got his confidence up, had a really, really good game. Probably his best game passing of the season, if not one of his best games passing of the season. And I can't wait to see how he plays against this Penn State team who, has kind of been up and down. I think they were a little bit overrated at the beginning of the season. But that's a good team up there, and it's a good matchup. I thought for a minute we might play Michigan in the which they ended up getting Florida in the Peach Bowl. I like the matchup with Penn State. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that one. And then to me right now, it's Bama versus everybody else. Although Georgia did look really, really good against them. Definitely tested them more than they've been tested all year. Do you think the playoff committee got it right?
I mean, you have to think so. I mean, just based on records and conference and all that. I mean, yeah, Georgia has an argument, but also they have those two losses.
Yeah.
They've had their shot at Alabama, came up short. A lot of people feel that, maybe they should have won it. But when it comes down to it, Alabama made the plays. They got the win. They deserve a spot there. There's no question about that. To me, it's can Clemson or Notre Dame find a way? I mean, even Oklahoma has a shot, but I think Oklahoma's a little bit out of the four. They got it right with being the 4 seed out of the 4. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the 2 losses, you can't exclude a conference champion. Oklahoma came out, won the Big 12. You can't exclude that team. I think if Georgia and Oklahoma played head-to-head, I think Georgia would probably win that game. I think they're probably up and down their roster a better team, but you just can't. You take any of the meaning away from those conference championship games, which is why the Big 12 added a conference championship game.
Exactly, because, in years past, maybe they've been left out because they didn't have that champion there. Now, it makes it a little bit more cut and dry. I mean, you're exactly right. Conference championships mean something now. Yeah. So, I mean, to me, it's Alabama's to lose. They're clearly the top team there, and if somebody can find a way to upset them, that's going to be the talk. And they'll now that people have that chance, there's no more what ifs. So we'll see how good Clemson is, and we'll get to see how good Notre Dame is and Oklahoma. So.
Yeah, definitely. There's some great matchups all up and down the bowl games. I mean, there's going to be a lot of great football coming up toward the end of the month and even toward the middle of the month. And I'm excited to see how it all plays out. To me, I would still love to see it expanded to an 18 playoff.
Yeah.
But I think that just gives you a little bit more, as far as being a college football fan, gives you a little bit more to play with. Give some teams, maybe like a UCF that's undefeated, a chance to kind of get in there, see what they can do, and you take all the guesswork out of it. The last few years in this thing, the top 3 spots have pretty much been locked down. It's been about who gets in that number 4 spot.
Yeah.
So I think if maybe down the road, if they can expand it to 8 teams, I think it just opens it up. You leave all those questions. Can a team like a UCF compete with these teams? You just leave it on the field, and that's where I'd rather see it.
Yeah, exactly. I want to move on to NFL real quick, and then we'll wrap things up.
I mean, again, with the Bengals, I just can't say it enough. This is the worst team in football, and it kills me to say that. It really does. Lifelong Bengals fan. They're just not good.
No,
they're just not good.
they played for a half yesterday, and then the second half, it was like they didn't even show up. It's like they didn't even come out of the locker room. So, as a Bengals fan, that's a little bit frustrating to see because you want to see them to try to fight and scratch their way into that sixth seed, but now it's pretty much over. Some of the other big news in the NFL is Mike McCarthy gets fired. A lot of Bengals fans saying maybe they should look at him real quick.
I mean, I'm not opposed to really anything except for the idea that Hugh Jackson would be the next head coach. I'm completely open. I even heard on the radio today them talking about Cliff Kingsbury, which to me, come on, that may be a little bit of a stretch. I mean,
maybe offensive coordinator.
Yeah, maybe offensive coordinator. I don't know about a head coach, but Mike McCarthy, I'm all in. I'm all in on almost anybody except for Hugh Jackson. But at this point, give me a ground up rebuild.
Exactly.
Give me. I'm ready. I mean, you might as well do it now because this is really, really hard to watch. Mm-hmm. Really hard football to watch, and the Bengals were just flat. The defense is just god awful. Only in Cincinnati can you play this bad and still keep your job. Yeah. I don't look for Marvin Lewis to be let go mid-season.
No,
right?
I think he finishes out, and I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't get to come back for next year and finish out his contract. That's just usually how things play out at Cincinnati.
Yeah, 1,000% wouldn't surprise me in the least if at the end of the year it comes. We've talked about this in years past. If Marvin Lewis is the head coach at the beginning of next year, it makes no sense whatsoever, but at this point with the Bengals, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. So we'll see what happens. But Mike McCarthy, I think is a good coach. I think things just went south on him in Green Bay. Probably time to move on. They're playing pretty terrible football right now, but I don't think he's won a Super Bowl, so he's obviously a pretty good coach, right?
Yeah. And just moving on, a couple of final things in the NFL. I guess Kareem Hunt is the big story. Kansas City has to let him go. That video comes out.
Yeah.
It's bad. There's no excuses for that.
Yeah.
Kansas City didn't miss a beat without him.
No.
So, they're in good shape. They did the right thing as an organization, I believe. And, the other thing to me last night is San Diego. They look like legit Super Bowl contenders now.
Yeah, I think San Diego, first with Kareem Hunt, 1,000%. You got to get that guy out there. What these guys are thinking when they do stuff, I have no idea. Like, you cannot keep a guy on your roster after he does something that egregious. And then the question is, I don't look for him to be signed. Number one, he won't be signed by anybody until this thing plays out.
How can he?
And maybe even not after that.
Yeah.
And then the Chargers, the Chargers are clicking on all cylinders right now. That defense is playing really good. Mm-hmm. They definitely came out. I love seeing the Pittsburgh Steelers get beat almost any time I can see that. But the Chargers look really good. The offense, Phillip Rivers still doing it.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers in that second half looked like he was a man who had a bunch of kids to feed.
Yeah,
and he was playing hungry and like he was hungry to feed his kids. He's got, 8, 9 kids is the story. And he looked like he was wanting to provide for those kids, put more money, get a big contract.
Yeah.
So, the dude was on fire last night.
Look for, here's some hot take of the day. Look for Phillip Rivers to play till he's 50 years old, not Tom Brady. And that's because he has to.
Yeah.
You got to put all those kids through college, man. 9 kids is a terrifying thought, by the way. So props to Phillip Rivers for that. But look for that guy to play well into his 50s. I don't know what he's doing, but he's playing some great football right now. And they got weapons all over the field. Melvin Gordon didn't even play last night.
Exactly. And the backup running back, Jackson, looked phenomenal. So, a rookie running back, a free agent, looked unbelievable. So, San Diego looked like they belong up there with Kansas City and the Rams and the Saints. So
real sneaky good team.
Yeah, we can wrap up now real quick. I guess the biggest thing on high school football is getting. Basketball's started up. Get out and watch your teams. Support the basketball kids. The Appalachian newspapers will be coming out with our all-mountain football team right around Christmas. We'll have a podcast to go along with that, talk about some of the players and the years they've had and highlight some of the top teams around the mountains and top players. So be looking for that podcast coming up. We'll probably get together and decide all that stuff here in the next couple of days. So look forward to that. Anything else you want to add, Wes?
No, that's it. Just make sure to get out and support these teams like Randy said, and he will have the most comprehensive coverage on all of the region's high school teams. Make sure you're reading that column and be on the lookout. We're super excited about the All Mountain team. That's going to be one to definitely look forward to. And as always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Throw us a little comment down if there's something that you'd like to see us talk about. Maybe something for down the road in basketball season, players to watch, or anything like that. Make sure to throw us a comment down in the bottom.